Hi, today I would like to show you how I knit seed stitches. It looks like this. It consists of 2 rows that are repeated all the time to get this pattern, and it looks the same on both sides. So I will show you both how to make the pattern and how to make the edges look like this. So what I do is that I slip the first stitch, and now I see that I have 2 different type of stitches here. I have this one that looks like a V, that's a knit stitch, and the one here that has almost like a belt over it, that is a purl stitch. And when I knit seed stitches, it is really just to do opposite all the time. When I have a knit stitch, then I make a purl stitch over it. And when I have a purl stitch here, I make a knit stitch. So I begin here, the V, I have a knit stitch, so I will purl this one. And when I do, I begin with my right needle at the tip of my index finger, and I move behind my yarn, and I stick my needle through the stitch from this direction and up through the stitch and back the way I came under the yarn. And now you can see that the yarn places itself between the left and the right needle, and then I use my right needle to bring the yarn through the stitch, and I slip it off the needle. Next one here with the belt is the purl stitch. I would like to knit this one. Then I begin here and I bring my needle through the stitch. Then I go to the tip of my index finger, go behind the yarn to pick it up, bring it through the stitch and off the needle. And I just keep going, knit, purl, knit, purl. The reason why I stick my needle through the stitch from here and not here is because if I do like this, you can see that I will twist the stitch. It twists at the bottom. You can see it's pointy here at the bottom. When I go from here, it opens up, and this is what I want. If my stitch were to sit the other direction on my needle, as it sometimes does, then it would be correct to go here. You just have to, if in doubt, you just have to try both, and you'll soon find out what is the right way. It's also much easier to open up the stitch than to twist it. And it's the same way when I purl, that if my stitch is, it has to do with whether or not it can sit this way on the needle or this way. And that is what decides if it goes this way from left to right. I have to go in between here to open it up, and if it sits from right towards left, I go here to open it up. So I just continue until I arrive at the end of my needle, and then I will get back to you on how to complete the pattern and how to make the edges. So now I have finished my first needle, and as you can see here, my last stitch was a purl stitch. You can see it because of the belt, and that way when I turn to continue and slip the first stitch, you can see that I will continue the pattern I have on the side here, and just do the same thing as before. Here I have the purl stitch, so I knit, I have a knit stitch here, so I purl, and I think it will be easier to see now. There you can see. So when you finished with a purl stitch, the edge makes itself. So now I will just continue to knit until I get to the end of my needle, and then I'm going to show you how to continue to make the edge look like this. Now I have finished needle 2 of my pattern, and here you can see that I have finished with a knit stitch. The next to last one here is a purl stitch, and there is a knit stitch. So now when I turn to begin needle number 1 of my pattern again, I have my yarn towards me. So I have some choices now. I can just go around the outside and slip the stitch, but then I will pull the purl side, the belt of the stitch, around, and you can see that I make a knot. If I just try to do a couple stitches so you can see. There you can see that I make a knot or a bump instead of this pattern that is a bit smoother. So I don't like this one. So I will show you how I prefer to do. First of all, you could place the yarn between the first and the second stitch, so that when you slip the first, the yarn will go on the other side, and then you will get the same pattern, but it will be twisted, so it doesn't look completely the same. But this is an okay way of doing it. But really what I like the best is to always, always finish with a purl stitch, because now I have the yarn towards me on this side, so that when I turn and want to continue, it will be on the right side without me having to do anything. So I can just slip this one and continue my pattern, and now you can see that it looks the same. So this way of doing it is the one I like the best. And finishing with a purl stitch will not affect the pattern, because I slipped the first stitch anyway. So, and if you knit in the round, then you just have to know where your row begins and keep knitting over purl stitches and purl over knit stitches. So I hope this was helpful, and thank you for watching.